This idea of, blocking the airport, we make the poor to the rich to feel the pains of the poor, is why we are where we are today. You don't criminalize wealth creation. You don't criminalize somebody for being rich. You work hard to be rich. Has to be effective. Has to be effective. I expected them to have done this 6 months ago. They should go to the National Assembly, block. They should carry mats. They should carry their cooking stove. It should be like an encampment. Those that should go for monitoring will go to monitoring. Those that go to will come. They should block every entry to ASUU Rock. That is the only way Nigerians will know that they are serious. Coming to disrupt economic activities in international gateways or local gateways that will affect, after all, the people that are going to disrupt are not the politicians. Every honest Nigerian, every sincere Nigerian is very agitated, is very worried for our kids who have been at home for 6 months and 7 months. And thank God that the kids have woken up. Right. The right thing to do, not only NANs, NLC, every sincere Nigerian, it should be like the NSAS rally. But this time around, they're not going to block Lekki Toll Gate. You're not supposed to go and block airport. Go and block ASUU Rock. Block ASUU Rock, block the National Assembly, and we know they are serious.
I mean, we know that the NLC has also been a part of lending their voice to, wanting to effect this change. On the 26th of July, the NLC did have a strike here as well in Lagos, talking about, wanting the government to do something about education. NANs have threatened to extend this strike to the Apapa Port and the Third Mainland Bridge. And unfortunately, if this doesn't change, we might see that happening. But what we did see happening was the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Moyele Sowore, joining the NANS students in protest yesterday. Let's talk about how, presidential aspirants and politicians in this season, what role can they play in ensuring that they lend their voice to achieving the change that we want to see for our Nigerian students?
Even before I respond to that question, I want to understand why they are protesting in Lagos. That's the first of all. The seat of power is in Abuja. Those that will influence and impact these changes are in Abuja.
Currently, the president and vice president aren't even in the country.
You see, let me tell you, the president and they're not living, but the ASUU Rock is where the seat of power is. If these guys, let us be very honest with ourselves. Let us be sincere. But I don't see the rationale of blocking Apapa Port, the rationale of blocking the highways in Lagos, the rationale of blocking up Third Mainland Bridge. You're going to be creating problems for your fellow Nigerians. If these people are sincere, picket ASUU Rock, picket the National Assembly. You know where the legislators live in Akpo Village. Go to Akpo Village, picket Akpo Village. No coming in, no coming out. This way you will get their attention. You know where they live. And for the presidential candidates, every honest Nigerian must be able to speak up. The other candidates, the Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Kwakwanso, and the rest of them should speak up. They should mobilize the rest of Nigerians, because the problem here is APC. I'm not going to call Bola Tinubu to come and protest because he claimed on his own that he made Buhari president. So everything that is happening in Nigeria today is a collective responsibility of the APC elitist bandits, as I call them. So the rest of the opposition should gather, mobilize the youth, mobilize ASUU, mobilize NAS, mobilize TUC, mobilize NLC, go and picket ASUU Rock, picket National Assembly, picket Akpo Village, where the National Assembly members live. Wherever you feel that this is where they picket them.
Mr. Nnameka, there have been concerns about the constitutionality of their actions. I mean, we did talk about this earlier on the show, where some of them have been accused of, basically impeding the freedom and the movement of others, and their actions have been termed unconstitutional. What do you have to say about that?
I cannot speak on the constitutionality of their action, because we have freedom of movement, we have freedom of protest. But what I am saying is, I still maintain disrupting economic flow and traffic in Lagos State to get Buhari, who lives in ASUU Rock, or who is maybe now in UK, or to get Oshibanjo, who is outside Nigeria, or to get the members of National Assembly who are enjoying themselves in Abuja and in their homes to listen to you. is not right. You don't see. Lagos is not this. Lagos ceased to be the seat of power since the days of Babangida. So, see, what they are doing is not good. It is incentive to even the protest. I've said it again, and I bear repeating myself. Yes, they have the right to protest. They have the right to gather. Everyone is angry. I'm angry about the situation. But to be effective, they should leave Lagos State alone. Go to Abuja. That is where the actions are. Look for members of National Assembly. Get them to listen, because National Assembly are the ones that appropriate funds. I repeat again. Let me not sound like a broken record. The activities, what they are doing in Lagos State is not right. It's not appropriate. They are destroying economic activities here. And the people they want to draw their attention will not listen to them. Go to ASUU Rock, block the entrance. Go to National Assembly, block the entrance. This place, let us live somewhere. Go to where they live, block the entrance. You saw what happened in Sri Lanka. The people were so pissed off with what was happening in their country. They started locating the houses of the members of government and started blocking their houses. If you go to the internet, you will see the video. They identify the house of the elites and they block them off.
All right, Mr. Obiari.
When those who are in power feel the pinch of their inadequacies and their misgovernance, they will sit up. Nigerians must learn to situate their struggles in the right places, in the right manner.
It's interesting, and some of the things that I mentioned earlier, is the fact that, it's almost, well known that a lot of these Nigerian leaders don't even have their kids schooling in these Nigerian universities. They don't have their kids at home for the last, 6 months. And so they may not feel the pain that the Nigerian students are currently feeling. But another thing, that I want to ask is, like earlier, you mentioned playing to the gallery. The National Association of Nigerian Students, and some of the concerns that ASUU had put out, which is the poor state of Nigerian universities. Aren't these things that they should have also been bothered about in the past to also speak about? Because it doesn't seem like they've ever been concerned about the things that ASUU has been complaining about until now.
Let me tell you, I want to sound I want to sound a kind of an unpopular opinion. ASUU actually is not a victim here. ASUU is an accomplice to what is happening in Nigeria today. ASUU is a self-regulating body. It's a union. ASUU is also supposed to regulate the activities of their members in the universities. Most of the elitist bandits, political bandits that we have in Nigeria today, most of the insensitive, incompetent, and atrocious human beings governing Nigeria today, we are rigged into power by members of ASUU. To be specific, most elections in Nigeria were rigged at the ward collection units, at the local government collection units, at the state collection units. That is where they doctor the report and manipulate results. Who were those responsible for it? ASUU members. And were they punished? Nothing like that. Who were those that participated mostly as ad hoc staff of INEC? Mostly youth corpers and students. And we all participated in rigging in these guys who are very insensitive. And I also want us to understand this thing. ASUU should also understand that education in developed environments is not centralized. If you go to even if you go to Ghana here, Kenya, our nearest neighbors, let me look at UK and the US. Some of us have had the benefits of getting education at both the UK and the US. And I tell you, there is nowhere in the whole world where education is centralized the way we have it in Nigeria. You have public universities owned by states. You have public universities owned by the federal government. You have private universities. You even have universities owned by nations. Their salary scales are different. Their school fees are different. If you want to go to Harvard, you must have at least put aside a minimum of $100,000 for every session. If you want to go to maybe one metropolitan university in the UK, you can just put around £6,000. You school based on of course, the quality of education, they are standardized. They have their own NUC. There's nothing like JAM in those environments where people sit to one centralized exam and then begin to allocate students. In those environments, there is nothing like JAM. Pass your GCE. then take entrance exam to any university that chooses you. Sometimes they even offer you scholarship if you're exceptionally good. Universities then went out of their way. We used to have such in Nigeria. From 1960, before the advent of the military guidance system, we used to have such arrangement. You want to go to Unibadan, you apply for Unibadan, write the exam, you pass, you go to Unibadan. Today, what has destroyed Nigeria is the centralized nature of the things. So if ASUU is actually sincere, it's not just enough asking to be given money, which is their right, or asking that the salaries be made uniform. You cannot expect somebody in UNN as a lecturer to be earning with somebody in Ogbomosho University. You don't expect somebody in Covenant University, one of the most elitist schools, one of the most excellent schools in Nigeria, as a lecturer to be earning the same thing with somebody in one Caritas University somewhere. So we must situate and contextualize this in the right perspective. It's not enough putting gun on the neck of the federal government to give you 1 billion and 1 trillion. And they also forgot that no such provisions were not provided in the budget. So if ASUU is actually sincere to themselves, apart from holding the federal government ransom, they should hold the National Assembly ransom to force them to provide a supplementary bill that will appropriate what they're asking for. Because even if Buhari says, I'm going to give you 1 trillion, Buhari cannot give them 1 trillion without the National Assembly appropriation. And why they are asking for the education to be paid, they should also be looking at the quality of education. Are you aware that Nigerians are migrating as far as near as Benin Republic to Ghana to go and gain education? In the early 60s and the early 70s, people were coming from South Africa. People were locating their children from the UK to come and school in UI, to come and school in the University of Nigeria, to come and school in Ife. The quality of education was so sound. At the secondary school level, the public schools were the best. I attended the public school between 1988 and 1988. We have about 403 in my set. Almost 300 cleared their work at one sitting. And most of them are doing so well. As recent as 1988, public schools in Nigeria were excellent. So beyond asking for money to be given to them, ASUU must also sign on to good educational practices as applicable to the global world. I believe that universities should be centers of excellences. There should be endowment, there should be chairs. What are they producing from those universities? If you go to Harvard, go to MIT, go to Columbia, you will see some research findings that are adding value to humanity. Universities have also developed commercial centers in those universities that patent things that add value to humanity and bring with those universities. It's not enough to collect salaries and monies and emoluments, copy and paste handouts. No! If for Nigeria to work, ASUU must also sign on to the best education practices in the whole world.
Absolutely.
And decentralize this thing they're trying to do. I don't see where minimum wage should be the same in Nigeria. Sanfan does not end the same as Lagos State. Ogun does not end the same as Sokoto State. Therefore, asking that salaries should be uniform across the length and breadth of Nigeria in the public sector is unacceptable. It's not the best practice. We must put the right things right in Nigeria.
There really is so much work that we need to do, and there's no better way to say it than how you have said it. Thank you so much, Nyameka Obiariri, for joining us this morning to shed the light on the tussle between ASUU and the federal government. We hope it comes to an end very soon, and our students can go back to living a normal life in school.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Normal life in school.
A normal life in school, yeah, Osalge. I mean, talking about a normal life in school, the normal life is not even so normal.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, because that's part of what he was saying.
It's pretty abnormal.
Very.
The standard of education, there's nothing normal about that.
A lot of us went to school reading with candles. There's something we call awoko. Awoko means you read all night. So you make sure that you sleep in the day, then you go to the halls with candles and you read all night. And that's still happening in many schools. We're talking about there's no access to power, there isn't security, the quality of education. Lecturers are still threatening students to buy handouts. They did it in my time. If you don't buy a handout, you wouldn't do well. Then there's also this failure mentality that a lot of lecturers want to pass down. They say, in fact, the lecturer said in my class, A is for God, B is for my wife, at best you can have a C in this course if you put your best effort. So there's so much that just really needs to be done. A total overhaul of the education system in Nigeria. 2 out of the 5 out-of-school children in the world are Nigerian. 1 or 2, right?